the Teach Pitch podcast. We are very excited to be launching a series of interviews for Teach Pitch, a global community of tens of thousands of subscribers from over 205 countries who all have a desire to improve the state of education in this world. And for these interviews, we have selected a number of our subscribers who have achieved great things. And by great, I mean amazing. Think of former presidents, entrepreneurs, fashion designers, hospital builders, non-profit founders, authors, journalists, doctors, etc. And what all our guests have in common is that despite their great success, they've encountered many enormous challenges. So what were these challenges and how did they overcome them? That is what we are going to be talking about here. My name is Aldo de Pap and I'm massively looking forward and very grateful you can join us in this journey. So sit back, relax and download the podcast here.
What I'd wanted at the time was my husband to say, oh, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it, dear, whatever. But what I got was Coach Keil. And yeah, you said like, okay, come on, let's go hit balls in the range, and I was like, I don't want to hit balls in the range. I was in tantrum mode, to be honest. For me, it's quite difficult, but you need to kind of separate yourself from that and say, no, look, as a coach, I think I need to be hard on you right now because you're much better than this.
Hello. A very happy Thursday to all of you. Very happy you could join us again on this Thursday. We bring to you today an exceptional interview. And I'm saying exceptional because I think it's exceptional because of a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the first interview that we are doing with someone who is a professional in the world of sports. So for a while, we have been looking at people with interesting professions in all sectors available to us, all sectors that we could find. And this is actually the first one who is a professional athlete, if you will, someone who make their bread and butter from doing sports all day. And I think that's exceptional. That was a kind of, for me, high on my list interview to have, just because I wanted to know, like, how do you pay the bills once you dedicate your life to being a sports professional? So that's one reason why I think it's unique. The other reason is that actually this is not one person, but two people who are basically devoted to the same sports career. So to be more precise, we are talking to a professional golf player, a lady by the name of Laura Beveridge. And Laura Beveridge is married to Keil Beveridge, and Keil Beveridge is her golf coach. So Laura is traveling the world, going to lots of tournaments and winning lots of tournaments, really developing quickly in this exciting world of golf. And the one who stands by her side and who supports her to play and to play better is her husband, Keil. And I thought that was fascinating, whereby people who are basically tied to each other personally, but then also professionally, and that it all comes out in one career, and that also seeing that it goes so well. So I think it's a very energetic conversation. I really like this conversation. At multiple moments in this interview, I thought it was almost like a therapy session, because you need to be mindful when you talk to people who are married, as well as people who are basically creating the same sort of career. But it went very well, not in the least because I think they're both absolutely lovely people that I'm sure you will enjoy listening to. And the last thing I would say is that for me, these people are a good introduction to the areas that I moved to when I moved from London to Aberdeen in 2020. Both Laura as well as Keil grew up in Aberdeenshire. And I think they give you a good idea of, among others, what people can do when they grow up here in the areas, and particularly on a golf level, because this area is very well known for its many golf courses. So if you're interested in that, and if you're interested in Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire, then don't only think Balmoral, which is where the castle of the Queen is, but you can also think the many golf courses and the golf courses that are all very accessible, very cheap, and very easy to get into and start giving you the opportunity to learn how to play golf yourself. So for golf fanatics among us, I hope this is a good episode. For people who like to listen to couple dynamics, I think this is a very good episode. And then for people who enjoy sports, I hope you will enjoy episode 44, The Golf Pros.
This podcast is brought to you by Smartest, an app that uses artificial intelligence to let you create interactive quizzes for your class in a few seconds. Get started for free on app.smartest.io. We're so happy to be partnering with Hee Haw Ho, an interactive video platform that enables teachers and students to easily create amazing clickable videos for learning. Check out heehawho.com for more information and your free starter account. A big thank you to our friends at Zeus Maths Challenger, the only puzzle that effectively boosts your numeracy, critical thinking, and brain power. Go to czeusspuzzles.com to get your brain buzzing. We are so excited to be working with the team at Learning Ladders, the only platform that provides assessment that goes way beyond tracking to effectively support teaching and learning for EYFS primary and secondary settings. Go to learningladders.info to find out more.
Yes, and a very warm welcome to yet another episode of the Teach Pitch podcast. And this one is a very special one and a rather unique one, because I'm not talking to one person working on a career, but actually two people, and also two people who are married. And it's a very lovely couple. It's Laura and Keil Beveridge. And Laura is a golf professional and Keil is a professional coach. Hi, guys. Welcome.
Morning.
Hi. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
And we're doing this conversation while Laura is at a tournament in Thailand. Where exactly are you, Laura?
I'm about an hour from Bangkok. So it's a nice day here. It's just unfortunate circumstances that I'm not participating in the tournament because I'm actually quarantining with COVID. So yeah, the COVID got me. It did.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And how's the quarantine going?
It's fine. I'm currently on day 8 of my 10-day isolation. So I get out on Thursday. So I've booked a flight to go back home as of Thursday. But it's been nice. You know, the views are incredible and the food's really good. So there's definitely worse places to be stuck.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you travel all that way to participate in a tournament and then completely no go, just quarantine for you in Thailand.
Yeah, it doesn't always go to plan, unfortunately. But it was going to get me at some point, probably, like with the amount that I travel. So I'm just fortunate that I'm healthy and well enough to deal with it. So
yeah. And we're going to talk extensively about your travel and all those tournaments because it's quite unique and you have quite a schedule. But then very quickly tuning into Aberdeen, where we have Keil, who also has COVID. Is that correct, Keil?
That's correct, yeah. Thankfully, I'm at home and able to recover there. So, it's like Laura said, we've both traveled a lot, so it was always going to catch us out at some point. And now it's our turn.
Well, I hope you both recover from it quickly and that everything will be very soon back to normal. You are looking rather well already, so I hope it's gone out of your systems quickly and things will be back to normal as soon as possible. But yeah, I mean, what a career you guys have. I'm trying to rhyme it. I'm very conscious, of course, that you both have your own path, but you're trying to create something together here, not only in the personal spheres as a couple, but also through the professional golf career of Laura, right? So, and I think that's so fascinating. And we've also identified some challenges. And in this interview, we're going to work through these challenges. Almost sounds like a therapy session, but that's not what it is. We're just going to talk about kind of, the things that you encounter trying to get this incredible golf career off the ground and playing at all these tournaments, but at the same time being married to your coach. Because am I correct to assume that's how you guys met?
We met playing golf a number of years ago. Laura's going to love that. I can't remember how many, quite some time ago. And actually, at that point, I was training to be a golf coach. And Laura was a very talented young golfer. And we were together for probably about 8 years before coaching became a thing. In fact, I actively encouraged Laura to go elsewhere for coaching because particularly as a young couple, it's probably not the healthiest thing to do, to be together, work together, and particularly in our line of work, rely on each other so heavily. However, Laura experienced a bit of a downturn in form around 2011, and in 2012 was thinking of leaving the game and taking a job, just something out with sport. And at that point, I said, look, I'm willing to help out here. What's the worst that can happen? If it's a disaster, we'll just give up. If it works out, then we both get to carry on living the dream. And fortunately, it worked out pretty well.
That's amazing. And so very sensible. So in the beginning, you saw it coming, like this cannot be good if I'm and your coach and your life partner, so to say. So let's not do that until necessity asked for it. So you were all well on your way as a couple already before you made that decision.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people assumed the coaching put us together, but no, we were just a normal young couple in Aberdeenshire trying to live our lives. And yeah, you're right, necessity and on my part, a huge amount of belief that it was the wrong thing to do. Laura had actually been advised by another coach that she might want to think of having a career elsewhere. And when she came home, rather upset, I thought, that's mad. That's not how I see this. And you're still very young. There was a lot of potential. And in fact, within 12 months of deciding to give it a real go, work together, Laura was the Scottish champion. So it really did all work out reasonably well, relatively quickly.
Yeah. There you go. So it really paid off, and so amazing. So Laura, a little bit about you. I hope everything's okay there. Like how did it start for you? So how did you get into golf? Let's start there.
So I'm from a small village in Aberdeenshire, Afford. There's not a whole lot else to do in the area, to be honest. So it became part of my routine. The golf course is situated right smack bang in the middle of the village. So it became routine that after school, I would, on my way home, like my mum worked close to the school. So I was able to put my golf clubs in her car and then on the way home from school, just pop over the fence, play 7 holes and then walk home, So it kind of just became routine. And yeah, I mean, I played other sports as a kid, but golf was one that I always came back to, just kind of fell in love with it.
Nice. And how old were you when you started?
So I started age 10.
Age 10,
which, yeah, I mean, I think it was about right, to be honest. Everyone, I'm sure, Keil, you started pretty young. I think you were about 3, I don't know, or something.
Yeah, I was a child prodigy.
Oh, wow. Age 3, there you go. A golf prodigy. Being early. Oh wow! But that's so amazing. And then, because I mean, a lot of people get into golf, but then there's also, of course, the differentiation from playing golf to professional golf and winning all those championships. So when did people catch on? Like, hey, this could be something serious and something professional.
I attended university, so it wasn't always my intention to be a professional. It wasn't something that I aspired to be from the second I started playing. I studied sport and exercise science at Robert Gordon's University in Aberdeen. And then when I graduated in 2010, and as Keil spoke about, I played a whole season in 2011 as an amateur and then didn't have a great year. And then that's when we thought, Keil's going to start coaching me because couldn't really get any worse. So And then in 2012 I was Scottish Open champion, St. Rule Trophy, which is like an international event played over St. Andrews, and champion, and I won the Order of Merit and stuff. So it soon became apparent, I was able to pitch myself against some of the best players in Europe in the amateur scene. So it was kind of a natural transition from there, right? Okay, I think we're ready to go for this. But it wasn't always something that I aspired to be.
Yeah. Wow, but that's sensational. So actually within a year, so from 2011 to 2012, you part ways with your previous coach. You guys basically team up. And in 2012, you see so many benefits of making that decision. Laura, what do you think happened? Was it a mindset thing? What, did you feel more comfortable, or what do you think happened, other than maybe very hard work?
The first thing I noticed when Keil started coaching me was you tried to inject quite a lot of fun back into my golf, because it became a real chore, when you're not playing well and you kind of get stuck in a bit of a rut. So initially, you really just wanted to get me to start having fun in the course. And that has always been first and foremost in any tournament that I go into now. We always remind ourselves that we're there just to enjoy the game, and the golf will take care of itself. So that was really, as much as we changed a lot of things technically in my swing, a few, it was more my mindset going onto the golf course that you changed, Keil. But that's just the way that you've always been on the golf course. You always see it as a place to have fun, and it's not a mode of work. So that was one of the primary things, and I was just happier on the golf course, like easier on myself. Gosh, yeah, because this game is so hard, what we're trying to do, and perfection can't ever be achieved. And I think that's what you tried to drum into me, and I just started enjoying myself. Yeah.
Wonderful, Keil, and compliments to you then here from your wife from Thailand directly. It's like you made it fun.
I'm impressed. I'm so happy.
You're impressed. And then, before we get into your challenges, because, thank you so much for sending me these, and just like in any other interview, we're going to work through them. I just want to know what kind of the step from, because you said like you were growing from a serious amateur into becoming a professional. Now, one of the things I wonder is, how does it work being a professional? Like, where does your income come from? Is that tournament, or is that sponsorship, or how does that exactly work?
Yeah, so at the time when we'd made the decision for me to turn pro, I was working as a receptionist over at Keil Sport and Country Club. And I was fortunate that one of the members there, Mr. Logie, is head of Saltaire Energy. And he'd seen me day to day pass in, and we ended up having a conversation, and he said that he would be able to sponsor me if I wanted to turn professional. And that's kind of the main barrier that you face, because anyone can turn pro, but whether you can actually make it financially viable, then, that's the goal. So when he said he was able to sponsor me, then it gave me the confidence, right, I'm going to attend Q School, the qualifying school for the Ladies European Tour, because that's not cheap, and there's quite a lot of financial outgoings initially to be able to take the step. And when you have someone financially backing you, it gives you, it's a huge weight lifted off your shoulders to be able to go forth and turn professional and actually make a go of it.
That's wonderful. And when was this that you received that sponsorship?
So it was the start of 2013. So after my year in 2012, the Q School is at the end of the year or the start of 2013. We'd had a sit down conversation, and he'd said, I want to help you pursue your career professionally. And if it wasn't for that, then I don't know what I'd be doing right now, but I don't know if I'd be sitting here in Thailand, that's for sure. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. That's such a life-changing event, right? If someone kind of says, "Hey, we can make this work. Here's the sponsorship." And then, am I correct to assume that as a professional, once you win a tournament or at the first three, there is prize money? Is that also things that you use, or how does that exactly work?
Yes, correct. So my sponsorship throughout the year will cover on average about a third of my expenses. We travel pretty far afield, so I have really quite a lot of expenses per year. So the other money that I need, I'll gain from my winnings from tournaments. So in every tournament, and each week there's a cut. So of the 130 odd players that are here, the top 60 after 2 days will go through to the weekend, and everyone who makes the cut will make some sort of money that week. So that's how it works, and then depending on your placing, obviously, is how much you get paid. So there's a fair bit of incentive to do well as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, of course, because it's all about the game. So you wanna make sure you're at least in the first 60, if not better. Then I can imagine. Wow, such an interesting life and such an interesting event. So am I correct to assume that ever since 2013, if not before, you have been leading such a traveling life? Because, when we're trying to pin you down for an interview, I believe you were first in the Middle East, and then you were a few days in Spain, and then you were back in Scotland for a day, and then you were off to Thailand. And I don't know what the rest of the year looks like, but you're all the time on the go. Am I correct?
Yes, this is correct. Yeah, we're very fortunate that, so this season is the record-breaking season on the Ladies European Tour. I think I'm going to have somewhere around 29 events, maybe 27 now, because I'm going to miss a couple with this COVID. But yeah, we're so fortunate that we have these opportunities to play. We have the options to travel as much as we like. We can schedule our events so that we don't have as many in a row. So you could maybe, you can miss one if you think it's too far to go, or if you have too many events in a row. But this is a very fortunate position to be in that we have choice. After this week, I was due to be in Australia, but so the girls that have been in Thailand this week have now all gone on to Australia. But it was too far for me to travel, I think, with not feeling great from COVID. So I'm actually going to go home for a week, and then Keil and I will both be going out to Madrid. So Keil, you're able to fortunately come and caddy for around 9 or 10 events this year. We sat down at the start of the year and decided which ones you're going to come along to. So we'll go to Madrid, and then I'm actually coming back out to Thailand for a team event, which is really exciting. So I'll get to visit all the Thai touristy places and get some good food and stuff when they come back.
Nice. Wow. Wonderful. But I mean, you're describing the wonderful side now, but I do have your challenges. And the first one of them is that, as people might have guessed, is that, and as you already saw it coming back in 2011, Keil, that having both a personal and a professional relationship can test the boundaries a bit. It's often difficult to differentiate between the two. That's what you write, Laura. We do our best to not take golf home with us, which is a challenge more for Laura than for Keil. And equally, when we're away on business, you need to remind each other of the jobs you need to be doing. So, I mean, tell me a little bit more about that, because I think you guys have been really good at it, and Keil, you previously described the first 8 years you were already a couple and you didn't have those boundaries professionally and privately. But now you do have them. So when does it get when do you guys get annoyed? Now we're getting into the therapy session. When do you guys get annoyed? When is there friction?
Laura, do you want to take this?
Nice here.
I thought you were going to step in. Having our relationship, we see each other 24/7. In a normal coach-pupil relationship, it might be that you see your coach for your lesson, and then the coach will say, right, go away and work on this, and I'll see you in a week or 2 weeks' time. And that's fair enough, and you go away and you work on your game and you come back. But when I'm practicing all day, every day, and I have a lesson with Keil, I feel like sometimes I need the constant reassurance. Am I doing the right thing? Is this what we worked on, et cetera, et cetera. But Keil's very good at just saying, look, we'll look at this in a week's time, or give it a few days at least. And yeah, we don't ever talk golf at home. That's a big no-no.
That's very good. Can you turn off the same way, Keil? It's like, can you say we're not talking about it? That's it? If you're at home?
Yeah, I personally find it quite easy to switch from work mode to home life or relaxing. I think it's just a personality trait. I enjoy what I do, really like my work, but I never take it home. And it's interesting working with Laura. We do a golf lesson, and then 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, I have a text message. I need help. I don't get it. I have to almost be really strict and say, look, it's going to take time. Just work on it. And inevitably, 2-3 hours later, I'll get another text saying, oh, I've got it now. And it would be too easy to be overbearing and just say, oh, you're not understanding it. Right, I'll be there in 2 minutes. Don't worry. And then stand there and do it. But part of any player's process has to be that sort of self-learning. And no matter if you're a complete beginner or a tour pro, when you have something to work on, it's not necessarily the best thing to have the pro stood there the entire time just holding your hand through it. You need to go away, experience things. And then, yes, you have the information, but then apply that information yourself. So, yeah, I also coach my sister, who's a very, very talented golfer. She gets the same treatment. Look, that's what you were told to go and do. Go and do it. Come back to me tomorrow, the day after, whenever. You have to be that way.
It sounds like you're really trying to cultivate an independent kind of behavior among your players, so they really know how to get resourceful themselves and start to believe in themselves.
It's key for all players, athletes, anyone who wants to learn a skill, that they have a sense of autonomy. They need to develop some things on their own. And even if they've been given a task, that task is only a challenge from the coach. What they then have to do is apply it to themselves and then learn how it affects them. So, yeah. Nice.
Such wisdom. There's, of course, a theory, and I'm putting it day to day into practice. And I think that also takes discipline to take a step back and to really make sure that the player get it. Is that also how you experience it, Laura?
Yeah, sometimes I find it a little frustrating because I'll be aware of what his schedule looks like, or his diary looks like, and maybe I'll be hitting balls in the driving range and I'm like, why is he not answering his phone? I know he's only having coffee in the lodge, so because I'm just trying to reach out to him to be like, is this definitely what we worked on? But I know that it's just tough love, and I know, looking back upon reflection, yes, it's good for me as a player, and I just need to try and remind myself of that more often. It's just a bit tricky sometimes, But on the flip side, when we're at tournaments, it's also a little tricky to try and keep the boundaries a bit, like we're off to Madrid in a couple of weeks' time, and when we're there, it would be all too easy to go out for glasses of wine in the evenings and maybe some tapas and things, and just spend a little bit more time in the restaurants, etc. But that's where I need to kind of rein it in and say, look, Keil, we're calling it. We've got an early morning tomorrow. Please don't order another beer. If you're gonna get wine, take that bottle of wine back to the apartment and you can sit on the balcony. So I sometimes also have to call the shots and say, look, please, like we're here for a job. Please.
Well, that's good. That's good. So that balance it out. And does it work when you call it? Does he listen to you, or does it?
It does. I've not quite mastered that yet, to be honest. But I mean, you understand. This is what we're here for. We're here for a job. We'll enjoy a few glasses of wine here or there. But.
I said my role is very different at tournaments. I'm there to carry the bag. You're the absolutely. And a different mindset.
No, but I mean, I think the point is you could have that glass of wine because, you're carrying the bag. So indeed for Laura, she needs to play the next day or whatever. So she needs to be in shape, of course. And as a caddy, you also need to be in shape, but maybe you could have a go at another glass of wine to carry the bag, right? It's a different thing altogether. So I do understand that. And it's good, Laura, that you then also professionally call the shots like, right, that's it, we're going home, or that you make that call. We're moving on to your second challenge. And this is an interesting one because golf is also a game of lots of details and, getting it right, getting the small things right. And you describe a situation whereby you found something in your swing, your golf swing in 2019, and that it, first of all, was difficult to identify what was wrong, and then basically trying to change that, for the better, to make sure that it was gone so you would improve your game. So could you talk a little bit about that, Jens, Laura, and how that came about and how you identified it?
Yeah, sure. So in 2019, I had a run of 11 events in a row back to back, all in Europe. And I was just going through like my first few events. I wasn't hitting it that good on the course. And as you know, golf's the kind of sport where it's often not practiced on the same platform that it's performed on. So on the driving range, I was hitting the ball great. And then we took an on-course video. I was just out playing a practice round with my friend, and I took a video off one of the tees and I sent it to Keil, and I was like, I think there's something going on with my right elbow through the impact. Without getting too technical, it was coming away from my body a bit, so causing a bit of inconsistency with my club face control through impact. Something very simple, but we'd never noticed it before. And Keil's been coaching me at that point for 7-8 years. So through knowing that, we were able to say, right, okay, we can figure out where the bad shots come from. And then from then on, I had 7 out of the next 8 events were top 10s. And I ended up securing my card for the LET, for the Ladies European Tour that season, just through keeping this feeling of my right elbow through my swing. It was something very simple, but it's just something we would never have noticed on the driving range because it never appeared under pressure. So for me, it was a relief to understand what my tendency is under pressure, because then it gives me ownership of it. Like even if it happened again on the golf course, I wasn't going into panic mode thinking, oh gosh, why is the ball gone left or why is it gone right? Instantly, even if the ball went there, I wasn't worried because I knew, okay, well after the round, I'm going to go to the range and I'm going to work on it. And it just gave me a lot of confidence in that what I was doing, like we're working on the right things. So that was a real game changer for us, and it's something that we still work on to this day. I think it's going to be one of my habitual movements that will always creep back in, but it's good because it gives me so much structure in my preparation for tournaments and confidence that I'm working on the right things going into events. Yeah.
And so what you basically said was you discovered this through watching a recording of yourself. So you didn't notice it while you were playing, Keil. I guess you did you see it or how the recording really gave you loads of answers maybe that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise?
We still have and had thousands of videos of Laura's swing from over the years. And in the driving range, it actually took, when Laura sent me the video, I did a compare and contrast. So I put it into a teaching app that I have, that I used to use, and put the 2 videos side by side. Laura hitting balls in the range the previous week and that swing from the golf course. And there was a distinct shift in the movement. There was a real change in what a right elbow and right arm did throughout the point of impact from practice to playing under pressure. And that was a real light bulb moment. And it was actually, from a coaching point of view, a real eureka moment, because the only time you get to see your pupil really is in the practice ground or in the driving range. And it was just a real sort of enlightening thing to see someone under pressure and right, that now makes sense. Why is it when you come to see me that you hit it really well, and then as soon as you step away, the wheels fall off every so often? So what we've done is held on to that initial on-course lesson that we learned, and every so often Laura now sends me, rather than always looking at what we've done in the driving range, she sends me regular videos of her golf swing on the course, and then again I can compare and contrast. But it's been a really important breakthrough moment for both of us.
It's funny that you mentioned the element of pressure in this. So you basically say if it's different when you're under pressure than when you're not. It's almost sounds like mental programming of, say, maybe Laura, I don't know, but maybe you need to tell yourself, I'm not under pressure right now. So let me just, again, bring in the fun element, that makes you do that swing correctly. So there's a mental component here. Am I correct? Or
Yes, I would. I would very much agree. I mean, that's like, this is a constant struggle with us in golf. You know, we're always trying to improve our mental game. But like we used to say, we need to treat it like we're just going out and playing in the practice on Sunday. You know, just like with my pals. And the amount of times that, you know, Keil, you'll maybe, if you're on the bag and things maybe aren't going so well, you'll try and, I don't know, crack a joke or something silly, you know, just to try and shift the mood a little. But yeah, very much so. It's definitely a mindset, but also, you know, you're in tournament, you're going to have adrenaline pumping, you know, your body is going to do things that's different to what it is in practice. So there's a little bit of the physiological state too. But yes, definitely it all stems from, if we can just try and relax a little and have more fun, then that will take care of itself. Yeah.
Nice. We're going to move on to your third challenge, and the third challenge is about disappointment. You write that disappointment, I mean, in any situation for anyone, it's difficult to cope with, but you know, you need to cope with it not individually, but as a couple, right? So because we're talking about you guys participating in lots of tournaments, if you participate in a tournament, you naturally go for the win, and sometimes you win, and I can imagine sometimes you don't, right? You basically say, well, the difficulty of coping with the disappointment, but then also I think taking it home, you know, and having to deal with it in a personal as well as in a professional sense. So could you talk me through a little bit, kind of maybe give an example of where there was a massive disappointment for you and how you dealt with that?
So more recently, I guess, in 2021, in my season, I hadn't played as well as I'd wanted to. But I had to go back to the qualifying school to gain my status back for the Ladies European Tour. So the qualifying stages are in December, and there are 2 stages, and you've got 150, 60 odd players that are competing for 20 spots on the LET. And after day 1, I'd had a particularly disappointing day, and I think I'd shot about 82 or 83 or something. And, you know, I think I was around the 120 mark out of 130, 40, 50 people, whatever it is. So I certainly wasn't close to my top 20 goal. And yeah, that was extremely disappointing, to say the least, you know. And that's a tough one, because Keil was there, he was caddying. And 9 times out of 10, Keil, when you caddy, I'm great on the golf course. I'm relaxed, I'm confident. And that just did not click that day. And yeah, you kind of took me aside after the round, and what I really needed, I felt, was, or what I'd wanted at the time was someone, you know, was my husband, to say, oh, it's going to be okay, don't worry about it, dear, you know, whatever. But what I got was Coach Keil, and yeah, you said, like, okay, come on, let's go hit balls in the range, you know, and I was like, I don't want to hit balls in the range, you know. I was in tantrum mode, to be honest, but we went and hit balls anyway, and we ground through it. And for me, it's quite difficult to know, like, I think I always want the arm around your shoulder kind of reaction, which must be difficult for you, Keil, because I'm sure you want to do that sometimes, but you need to kind of separate yourself from that and say, no, look, as a coach, I think I need to be hard on you right now, because you're much better than this. So that was particularly disappointing. But then I shot like 5 under the next day, and climbed up, and I ended up on the last day, I made a putt, a 12-footer on the last hole at La Manga in Spain to secure my card on the number. So yeah, your pep talks work, but it's just like, for me, not knowing which Keil I'm going to get, you know, like, it's like, I know that I need Coach Keil, but sometimes I just want husband Keil.
You don't want Coach Keil.
Oh, yeah. No, sometimes I don't want Coach Keil, because he's a meanie. But no, but sometimes it is what you need, but I don't always see it. So yeah, Keil, would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. You've really painted me in a good light there. No, that was a really good example, because throughout the round, you know, as a round of golf goes, it was a complete car crash. And I could see it all unraveling. So even though I'm on the bag and I'm trying my absolute best to keep things going, there comes a stage in the round where you think, we just need to get off. So got off the golf course, and absolutely, as a husband, the first thing I wanted to do was give Laura a big hug and tell her everything was going to be okay. But unfortunately, that would have been lying to her. So I chose that day to be really stern and just say, look, let's go and work on this. The option is we either turn things around, so we give this our absolute everything. And this qualifying tournament really meant everything, because if Laura hadn't made it into the top 20, she'd been playing in the second division of ladies golf in Europe, so the ladies access tour, so the lower tour. So as a coach, I had to sort of stand firm and say, right, we're going to do this, and go through and be honest and say, look, we either turn this around or we might as well go home, because at the end of the day, this is make or break. And fortunately, within those couple of hours of tantrums, and I think there were a few tears and things on the driving range that evening, the next day, the Laura that I know turned up and blew the field away. I think he had the best score of the day by some margin, and went from maybe 100, I think you were 128th, all the way up to 60 something. And then at that point, if we still have, it's an unusual tournament, it's a 5-round tournament. So at that point, we're now thinking, right, and each day Laura climbed the leaderboard just a little bit until the last day. She was sitting 23rd, and then, she made birdie on the last hole to jump up into joint 20th and secure a card. So it is tough, and dealing with disappointment is something that everyone does in their life. But what is tricky is to know when to be a coach and when to be a husband. And I'm sure I get it wrong sometimes, but there was a good example of where I just had to stand firm and keep my professional head on. Like I said, I'm very good when I get home at switching that professional golf coach off. So I would like to think I'm quite good at switching it on when I have to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there's also another component. First of all, Keil, you sound very professional, so my hat's off to you to kind of, say, how do we turn this around? Because that was the key question you were dealing with, and Laura was already, sounded like Laura was already, it's not happening, and kind of, she was almost ready to say, okay, it's not going to work, so give me the hug, give me the let's be at home hug, whereas you were like, no, we still have a chance here. And how are we going to do this? And Laura, just out of curiosity, are there other people when you go on such a tournament? Are there other people that can be the huggers? Because I can imagine, I don't know, maybe you call a friend or someone in your family or whatever that could basically just a suggestion that maybe Keil can refer to. It's like, well, if you want that one now, then just call someone close to you. But I cannot give that to you at this moment.
I guess I would call my parents. But primarily, I'll get that hug at some point. It's just not needed. It's just not there when I want it initially off the golf course. Yeah. But No. Keil plays all roles. He plays coach, husband, mental coach, cheerleader.
Nice. Yeah.
Daddy.
Yeah. And you coach so many, you coach also so many other people, Keil. So there's lots, you're really good at what you do as a professional coach. And, that also takes lots of, trying to identify that with everyone is a job in and of itself that also requires skill and discipline and experience. So that's, kudos to our golf prodigy who was golfing at age 3, Keil. This has been wonderful, guys. It's really nice to listen to kind of your synergy as a couple, and then also the output of things. Before I go to my 2 very last questions, I was curious, what's next for you guys? Because I think every year sounds very intense. You've got, I think, 29 tournaments. You just mentioned, Laura, only this year. What are your aims? What would be kind of for you guys the thing that you want to achieve within this year? And how do you want to, how is that going to move on to next year? And could you talk me a little bit through your milestones and targets and whatever it is you're trying to achieve?
So for this season, for me personally, I primarily want to guarantee a very good ranking for next year, because your ranking determines how much money you can earn, how many tournaments you're getting into, etc. So the top 50 on the Ladies European Tour Order of Merit gain a very strong place for next year. So my goal primarily is to be well within the top 50, thus making my mark on LET. I really don't feel like I've done that yet, but I know that my game's good enough to. So yeah, that for me is just key for this year. I don't think we have any other life events planned as a couple. In the meantime, we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I just want to secure my status for next year to give me more opportunities to play well, and that's it really, and keep having fun. Mm-hmm. I'm fortunate that this year I think I'll get into most, but we have some events. For example, there's an event in Dubai which is there's only like 56 players or something. It's like a moonlight evening classic thing. So, and we have some limited field events. It's just whatever the sponsors stipulate. So it's important that we try and get into everything to try and earn some money, I guess.
Definitely. Just out of curiosity, Laura, do you next to golf, do you need to do any other form of training to stay in shape? So, and if so, what do you do?
Yes, so I go to the gym when I'm at home. I do a little bit sort of some mobility stuff when I'm away. I find that tricky when I'm traveling, because I feel like I'm so tired from traveling that and golfing primarily, you know, that takes up a lot of my time. But when I'm at home, yeah, I do a lot of weight training. You know, everyone, I'm not getting any younger. I'm age 33, but I would say I'm in the top 10% of the longest hitters on Ladies European Tour. So I need to keep using that as my strength. You know, I'm tall, I have long levers. So that is my strength. So I need to keep capitalizing on that. Otherwise all these young guns are going to come through and catch up. So yeah, I do a lot of weight training just myself when I'm at home. I train like 3 or 4 times a week and lift some pretty heavy weights. And, but yeah, it's got to be done, because the way golf's going, you know, the golf courses are getting longer. Technology is making the ball hit even further. So I need to capitalize on the fact that, you know, I have this opportunity to continue hitting the ball a long way and having that advantage over the field. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So weightlifting is a good thing to do additionally to keep your strength going. I can imagine that it sounds also like a strength exercise, and I can 100% also imagine the toll the traveling takes on you, because it's every time a different time zone, it's plane in, plane out, and kind of, you know, you do need to stay fit there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. we have a lot in terms of a tournament week, and it wasn't until people don't realize until like my parents came to an event a couple of years ago, and just things like, you know, we arrived, you have to pick up the rental car, find where you're staying. You know, it's not quite as glamorous in the ladies' game as it is in the men's. You know, we don't often all stay in the same hotel or get shuttles. You know, we have to find the Airbnbs, etc. You know, there's a lot goes on behind the scenes from our point of view mentally, you know, in terms of organising everything. And yeah, we need to have a fair bit of cardio fitness also, which, you know, we're walking around golf courses all day. You know, that in itself is a cardio workout. But yeah, there's a lot goes on around the golf, the traveling side, and just organising ourselves, to be honest, because we do it all ourselves mostly. It's not all run by the tour. So yeah, it's quite a struggle at times. It's quite.
So now you just mentioned something like, so you said for the men's it's better organized, so there's no, it's not an equal pay standard. It's like the women's competition there's a significant difference there. Am I correct to assume that?
Yes, I think it's about 10% difference in terms of, we looked at where I finished on the Order of Merit, was it a couple of years ago, and in my position on the Order of Merit, I earned 10% of what
10%. Yeah, 10% or 10 times. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I earned around 10% of what the male equivalent earned on the men's European Tour.
Oh wow!
So there's quite a big difference. But that, and you know, that's reflected everything in the tournament from when we had a mixed event with the men last year, the Scandinavian mixed in Sweden. And, you know, we stayed in this nice hotel, which was at a decent price because the sponsor of the tournament was able to provide us with a subsidized rate. And there were shuttles in these nice like BMW cars, and you know, all the women are like, wow, this is how the men do it, week in, week out, you know. And then they also get money at the end of the week to cover their caddy costs. So they get around, it's like €1,000 or something. So we also got that for that week, which is also a huge surprise. And you know, there's just not the same money in the women's game yet. It's getting better. We're definitely on the up. And it's definitely becoming more apparent that we need to have better infrastructure and support at events. But it's just a bit of a struggle at the moment.
Yeah, and it sounds like unfair. It's the same as, you know, you hear things about the women's football competition and whatever. It's like the appetite from sponsors, I guess, in the beginning all went to the men's competition, is absorbed into the men's competition, and then you know it is felt unjustifiably so that the women's competition is less interesting. Well, it isn't, right? It's also about making sure people look at the women's competition as intensely as they do at the men's competition, which at golf, I don't feel there should be any reason why there should be a difference, right? It's as interesting, as exciting, as fascinating as everything. So if you're listening, sponsors, stop making a difference between the two.
Can I step in? A big part of it is one of the biggest issues or hurdles that I can see, and being around the events, is the lack of coverage. So when sponsors are buying a product, a lot of it is what they will see. Just because a company wants to do things in a right manner or in an equal manner doesn't mean that they'll necessarily invest. And unfortunately, in the ladies' game, there needs to be a drive to get the main TV companies to cover more, expose the game more. When we're at events, and some of them are good events, for instance, Sky Sports will have cameras there, but not all the cameras are on at all times. Whereas in the gents game, if something happens somewhere on the golf course, a camera picks it up. But in the ladies game, something really amazing could happen and the coverage won't show it. So then you're left with coverage of a lesser standard, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's less interesting to watch because they don't invest enough in the infrastructure. And now this is the broadcaster's problem. And what people need to do is sort of say, hey, look, Mr. Sky Sports or Eurosport or whoever's covering it, we don't want your product unless you're fair and equal. But that's a really, possibly a step beyond where we're at right now. But it really is, it's about what you see. And the better the product looks, the more people will invest in it. And that's, for me, looking as a man on the outside and going to gents events and women's events and seeing the difference. It's about how much coverage is there. The quality is unbelievable. I get really frustrated with a lot of my clients because they say, well, I like watching the women's golf because I can relate to it. And I want to explode every time I hear that because it's like comparing a Skoda with a Ferrari. And there's nothing that an amateur golfer, male amateur golfer, can relate to what these women are doing at that professional level because they are so good. If people could see it more, they would realize, actually, I think that the women are almost sort of this standard, but they are way up here if there was enough coverage. Sorry, that's my bit.
No, that's good. That's good. So more coverage, and I don't understand why it wouldn't be. I think the broadcast companies, they might have a direct association with viewers, but they're part of the problem, right? Because it's kind of like a vicious circle, if in a way, because if you don't broadcast more, people are not going to find out about it. So there needs to be more coverage about women's golf as there is about men's golf. And I for one wasn't aware that there was a difference. I really thought when I know it's with football and whatever, which I already think is unfair. But golf, I didn't really associate it with either men's, male or female. I think it's the quality of the golfers that needs to define the game, not their sex, right? We can go on for hours and hours here. I've already noticed. But I'm going to move on to my two very last questions, which is, and I ask those to all my guests. Question one is about reading. Has there in your professional life, and by that I mean professional life as a coach as well as a professional golf player, has there been any reading? And by reading, it can be in the broadest sense of the word, a book, a website, a journal, a kind of, magazine, anything that has inspired you throughout your journey and that you would, recommend to other people maybe to read. And it could also be a novel or something, right? It doesn't have to be about golf 100%, but maybe something that just gave you that trigger to move on.
I have one, but it's possibly more coach specific, and it's The Fundamentals of Golf by Ben Hogan. This book was written by Mr. Hogan, who was a major champion. He had a near fatal car crash and then came back from that and resurrected his golf career, but also at the same time started to look into golf coaching. And amazingly, before modern day technology, he pinpointed a lot of things within the golf swing and the setup, which to today, now this book was written in the 50s, to today is a stand up against science. And a lot of what used to come from golf coaches in the past was hearsay or their own theories, whereas now in golf coaching we tend to try and back everything up using science. And I think the fact that this gentleman was the best player in the world and then also had such an amazing understanding of the game and then put it down into almost 5 simple things, the fundamentals of golf. And then I think it's a great piece of reading of anyone who's interested in golf coaching. As a player, leave it alone, because the last thing you need when you're playing golf is to be thinking of how to coach the game.
How to coach, yeah. Laura, do you have any suggestions, or did you have any? And thank you, Keil, for that great recommendation. We'll be sure to also add it to our show notes later, or we'll bring the book back to our listeners later on if you're interested.
Yeah, so I actually recently discovered Dave Pell's Short Game Bible, Pell's Pelz. It's not a small book. I'm not going to lie. And again, I think it was written about 30 or 40 years ago, something like this, because all the pictures are in black and white. But I just started reading it randomly. A friend had recommended it to me, Mike from Mercer, and I like the principles in that they're so basic, but it gave me such a good structure with my short game. And Keil, you're a wonderful coach, but we don't touch on short game like as that much. But all of the fundamentals that I learned within the book, I'm able to take to the course straight away. And I still delve into it now. I've got it on my iPad for when I'm traveling, and I can just dip in and out. And so, yeah, the Short Game Bible, again, like these techniques were used like 30, 40 years ago, but they're still applicable to today. And you can see that all the top players in the world are also implementing these fundamentals within their game. So, yeah, I would say the Short Game Bible, Dave Pell's.
Short Game Bible. Nice. Mm-hmm. Thank you for such great recommendation. So get into those books, if you're interested to get in there from the coaching side or from the player side. 2 great recommendations. And then my very last question, which is now I'm going to turn over the keys of this podcast to you guys. So imagine if you are running a podcast and you can invite someone to interview, then who would be on your list to interview? Who would be your kind of number one guest?
Oh, well, I would have to say Seve Ballesteros, because he is just, I would love to pick his brain about the way he played golf. He saw shots that no one else did, and he was way ahead of his time and how he used the club, and he was doing things that no other players could do back when he was playing. And yeah, I would just love to have a conversation with him. His passion was just incredible, and yeah, Sevi Ballesteros. I don't know what I would ask him. I would probably wouldn't be able to ask him anything. I would probably just sit in silence.
Keil, you have any guests?
Oh, thankfully I've had longer to think of this than Laura. Through my head, I've had Ayrton Senna, Jim Clark, Tiger Woods, obviously from a golf point of view. But if I could genuinely pin down one, interesting that I only picked sports stars there, it would be to be able to have a conversation with Butch Harmon. Now, he's still alive, thankfully, and he's a world-renowned golf coach in the States, the guy that coached Tiger through his early part of his career. So yeah, if I could have the chance to sit down with someone, there was a part of me that wanted to say someone like Nelson Mandela, be much more interesting, but no, actually, really, if I really could sit down with someone right now and it would affect my life, it would be Butch Harmon. Pick his brain for days if I could.
Yeah. Wonderful recommendations and both close to the game, so it also shows how much you are immersed in golf and it really suits you. I also just quickly wanted to mention, Keil, because you're a recurring theme, or at least you were on BBC Alba, right? People sometimes they see your coaching sessions, so you coach on TV. We're just talking about broadcasting, so your coaching practices are broadcasted. Am I correct to say that?
That's correct. Yeah, there's a golf show on BBC Alba. I am not even going to try and attempt to drop the name of it because it's all in Gaelic. So, yes, there is a golf show there, and I do a bit in English, which is then subtitled into Gaelic. And it was a great experience. It was an amazing thing to be involved in. Again, the show took the angle of they had me as the guest coach, but also running through it was Laura's life. And then they had some of the best short pieces on disabled golf and junior golf across Scotland. It was incredible, a very, very well made and really enjoyable show to be part of. So yeah, if anyone's looking for it, I think it's possibly still on the BBC iPlayer in the UK. If not, I'm sure it'll be back on at some point.
Yeah, so more of that, and great that it's not only this podcast. People have heard about you, and I'm sure they will hear a lot more about you. And Laura, for you, I know you have this beautiful website, which is laurabeveridgegolf.com, which looks amazing, and it gives loads of details about your journey and your tournaments and whatever. So people want to find out more about Laura, please go to that website. I want to thank you both so much for your time. You're an absolutely lovely couple, and I'm wishing you all the very, very best on your amazing journey. As I said before, I'm convinced we're going to hear a lot more about you two. For now, make sure you get better. Let's get rid of that COVID and back on track. Thank you so much for your time, Laura and Keil Beveridge.
Thank you so much, Aldo. Thank you.
Thanks, Aldo. Cheers. Thank you.
If you liked this episode of the Teach Pitch podcast, then it would mean the absolute world if you could share it with your friends and or give it a short review on your preferred podcast platform. The more you share your ideas about these interviews, the more people will find out about them. So do let us know what you think. We'd be very, very grateful.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for our beautiful theme music, Le Grand Chase. This podcast was produced and edited by Natalie Piles. Project coordination by Inva Cheney.